Oh, now we're recording. Hi, I'm Brian. The recording has started. One of the things that a lot of executives find very interesting is the difference between surface web, deep web, and dark web. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Yep, wasn't looking over my own shoulder. Copy. Okay, is surface web, deep web, and dark web. And these terms become very important when you look at the surface web is everything you can Google or find on a search engine. Deep web is all the stuff inside the universities, inside organizations, you know, on the kind of sub-tier of the internet, on the backbone kind of thing. And the dark web is the red light district, the Tortuga of the internet, where bad stuff happens. Brought to you by the Onion router and that ability, which of course was designed by the US Navy and got out in the wild, thanks for that. So some of the things about the deep and dark web. It is incredibly easy to be evil. It is incredibly cheap to rent a ransomware kit. They will include help desk. They will include files they encrypt. You can buy drugs. You can buy guns. You can buy humans. The eBays of evil or the Amazons of evil, Alphabet and the various things, every time we take one down, another one pops up. So a lot of times in our early days of this, it was like the picture of the kid in the hoodie and all that. It is now whole organized crime groups of 50 or 100,000 people. They are segmented. The people that design the malware have no idea where it's deployed. The people that do the intrusions are not the help desk that helps you through your ransom and negotiates the amounts. You're passed through a loosely affiliated marketplace. So there's no tracking down this one individual. Attribution we'll talk about in a bit, maybe kind of a waste of time. I have seen in many cases direct targeting of the individual executives as a pathway either to their personal wealth or to the enterprise itself, especially if they are lucky enough to have established a family office or other facilities for the extremely successful. Also, if there's activists or terrorists that don't like the enterprise, they may take it out on the executive and their family. Also, they found that sometimes executive home networks are a potential entree back to the enterprise. For those of you in smaller companies, one note here, it is ill-advised for you to do the home security or home IT of executives in your company. I've had to work 3 cases here in Washington State where the CEO accuses the IT person of surveilling them in their hot tub. So mixing church and home for your executive IT support may not be a good idea for a bunch of reasons. Or maybe a really good idea, says Frank, depending if you wish to surveil them. And then we'll talk about BECs and other things, and I'll come up with that. So besides ransomware, the number 2 painful attack, not in particular order, but I'll call it number 2, is BEC or business email compromise. They hack into an email account and then they basically try and reroute invoicing. They may do this directly from the email box for a little while. They'll create a rule that sends all the emails to the RSS folder. Be checking your inbox rules in your companies every couple of weeks. Have your lowest paid IT employee just run a rule set. If any of them look weird, it's a problem. Then what they'll do is they'll set up a domain, 1 character off yours, called a typo squatted domain. They'll move the IT discussion of invoicing of your suppliers, customers, or others to their own controlled email box, rerouting all those emails, and you won't even see it anymore until 3-6 months later or 60-90 days later when you're doing your reconciliations. So making sure that changes in email addresses, changes in banking information have various other authentications outside of email, good idea. We often come in after $1 million or more has been taken. One airline bought $5 million of fuel on a continent they don't fly to. Others have, bought construction companies, cranes that they didn't order in theory, and large transactions. There's been a lot of targeting of construction around public projects because there's a lot of inefficiency in that. Business email compromises also lead to another huge amount of data exfiltration. They'll forward everything in the email box somewhere. Now you have a lot of PII and other things ran out about. And now we'll get into the insurance side of this. I don't feel bad for whole other brief. Global trends of cyberburg, the loss trends, they are dramatically up, as Gene had asked about. We are seeing pricing trends. The market has what we call hardened. What happens in the insurance industry is when there's too much payout. And let me explain something about the insurance industry, and I've been in it and I'm licensed in it for a while, is the profit margin in the insurance industry is, I don't know, single-digit percent, let's say, for conversation. So if you put $1 in premium, you collect $1 in premium, you pay out 96 cents or 94 cents in claims, you have about a 6%, 4 to 6% profit margin. That's a pretty good year. If you pay out a penny, $1 more than you collected, you're 1% in the red, that's a bad year. 104 is a really bad year. Many of the insurers in the past 2 years, and one of them in particular, had a 400% payout in the red. I believe the technical term is poop tornado, but I might be phrasing it slightly wrong. That's unheard of because of ransomware and because of several other things, but primarily because of ransomware and the extremely high ransoms. And the thing about extortion is, well, the insurance company won't pay it. Well, it's extortion, it's criminal. The insurance company was never intending to have the premiums high enough for that many payouts. And you see the same things in flood insurance, terrorism insurance, car insurance, home insurance. If you live in a floodplain, you can't buy insurance because it's a guaranteed lose. If everybody didn't wear seatbelts or didn't have airbags, you can't get your car renewed. You can't get insurance. So the trend there is, yes, the market's hardened, and they will have carve-outs. Things like, well, yes, you have $1 million of coverage, but only $500,000 to pay a ransom, unless you buy more coverage, which means you have a higher premium, or you have a copay, a deductible. The retentions have gone up, and I try not to. I think I have some in here. The retention, or maybe in the other briefing, I also, 200% up in retention, 150% up in premiums.
So I mean, a couple of years ago, I was routinely see 20,000 in retention.
Yeah.
Small amount. Today, like we know like earlier, 500,000.
Yeah.
Completely different story.
And sublimits on the $10 million policy, $5 million for ransom or $2 million for ransom. So for those of you who need help with this, hey, I do this all the time. I have a whole team that does it around the world. Aon is a 50,000 person insurance company. We're the Aon on the soccer shirts one, same one. And a mutual friend of ours called and asked me about insurance for a fleet of low orbital satellites. Yeah, we have a space team. We insured 30% of what went into space last year. Imagine what the insurance policy is on a satellite. When it's on the rocket, when it goes into orbit, if it falls out of orbit, what city that nuclear powered thing lands on, that's a fun discussion. So but back into the cyber context, the other thing, and this is one of the reasons, and I'll get through this pretty quick and then we'll get to questions and answers, is the other thing the insurance companies know is the root cause of all the house fires. This is the dirty dozen of the year. Multi-factor authentication, Frank's Red Hot sauce, pour it on everything. If you're doing your cyber insurance renewal, the first question is like, do you have MFA everywhere all the time? No, you'll hear a click on the phone. That is a declination issue. They will just walk away. It's like saying, no, I don't think smoke detectors in my kids' bedrooms is a good idea. And again, to use the analogy, I knit my own seat belts. And my airbag is my lunch bag. I blow it up every morning and put it on the steering wheel. Yeah, okay, not happening. The rest of these, again, for you security experts on the phone or on the Zoom meeting or here in the room, none of this is new. Not one thing on here is new. MFA, endpoints, phishing education, pass management, secure RTP, VPN, incident response plans and playbooks, real incident response plans. I'm the cyber smoke jumper or the fireman you're going to call And if you copied your incident response plan off the internet, it's useless to both of us. And by the way, many of the people in the FBI, bless their souls, I trained them and founded some of their program 30 years ago. They have never been in a real breach because the FBI is not in on the attorney-client privilege breach. What they're telling you is the wrong view of what your CEO and general counsel need. So there's a reality to running a breach and understanding what should be in a playbook.
So I'm surprised inventory isn't.
So these are the top 12 things that led to the spark spread. So let me show you. Oh, wait 1 second. I'll show you in a second. I will. Frank brings up a great point, says, why is inventory control not on here? So the next slide. So many executives, like people in the insurance industry and the legal industry, they really like text. They like reading. I'm more of a visualization type. This same list of dirty dozen on the kill chain looks like this. Same 12 boxes, just aligned on either. As a Navy guy, these are the 5 watertight compartments of the Titanic. If you are an Air Force person or an Army person, these are the 5 rooms of your home from the front door all the way to the edge. And for my Air Force friend in the room, no, there's no cable in this place either, so we won't find too many Air Force.
Okay.
Exactly. So you can see from the left, M&A due diligence, remote access security, and supply chain risk management, vendors and others. Then awareness training on phishing, MFA, and patch management, which includes vuln management, which includes underpinning that cause, includes knowing what to have patched and what's on your system.
You know, I remember working with Dean.
Yes, myself as well.
You know, it's the finding that you have, you're the guy that owns a Ferrari and you want insurance of it. It's in your garage. Now, I can scope what that Ferrari looks like. It could be a tinker toy, or it could be a full-size car. Inventory is exactly that. It gives you the measure. I mean, all of this stuff, to be honest with you, if you don't have understanding, I mean, it's the, oh yeah, you know, how many servers do you have in that closet? Oh yeah, no, we don't talk about this. Those don't need that.
Oh, no, understood. All of these, like when it says like, and again, and EDR, when it says EDR management logging, you should know all the things you're logging. So, yep.
No, not quite all of them, but almost all of them, and you just can't.
Well, let me give you an analogy and it plays this. So when you look at this list, and I'll go back 1 slide, when you look at the list this way, these are just 12 things, and MFA seems to be the top one. There's somewhat organized. When you look at them like this, and I use this, by the way, when I level things up to executives across the globe. I use those 2 analogies I did with you, whether these are watertight compartments, or this is a hotel when I'm talking to hotel management, or forestry or mining or whatever. These are merely the smoke detectors, radon detectors, fire doors, and fireproof safes of their day. Yeah, they have different titles, and I'm honest, and I've tried not to learn, so please don't email me because I know how to figure it out if I want to. I don't know how a smoke detector works either. I know mist goes in, it gets angry and it beeps, and something in there is nuclear and I shouldn't touch it. Other than that, I really do not understand or want to understand how a smoke detector actually detects smoke. And nor does the head of Brinks or any other company here. Satya Nadella does not even understand how the sprinkler system outside his office works, nor does he ask. Bill used to ask about the flowers, but Satya doesn't. These are important terms to know, but you don't need to dissect them. And I'll talk about that in a minute again. So that's one of the things about getting closer to your chief risk officer, not your CISO. And if you are a CISO, go find the person in your legal division that does your insurance and align with them. Because if you don't, this list is what your CEO and general counsel are going to use. And it is related to NIST, and I'll show you how it all knits together, but they're going to be getting a different standard and you're going to be fighting against history. And it's not a place for us security people to be. Similarly, the timelines for renewal are just completely different. It used to be 30, 60, 90. I'll get ready for, and we were joking about this earlier, and thank you for that. I'll go get ready for my fitness test. I'll work out for 2 weeks before it and then pass it and take some Motrin afterwards and just gut through it. That's how it was on insurance. No, because on this, and 22, 23, I gotta update my slide, that big black box of mitigation, you need to have time to install radon detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. For anybody on the call older than 40, those two things weren't in a house when we were young. There was no radon detector or carbon monoxide detector. You know who wants them there? Insurance companies. You know why you have them there? Insurance companies. Side impact airbags, insurance companies, crumple zones, insurance companies, and people that like expensive damage to cars, but still. So I'll go through the rest of these pretty quick. There's a lot of visualizations, so it's a lot of fun. Also, always know what North Star you're picking. Is it NIST? Is it the TSA requirements for pipelines? Is it the new SEC guidance for cybersecurity reporting? If you're a law firm, there are various ABA, I always mix ABA and ALA, sorry guys. The American Bar Association and the American Library Association. The ABA regulations about due diligence of protecting your client's information, et cetera. And all of these will overlap, so you're gonna have a crosswalk matrix. What we do at Aon and what I often do with my clients is walk through a process that actually knits both of those together. Now I'll show you this exemplar because this is the one I use, but if you're broker or insurance provider, I'll explain the difference in a heartbeat. Insurance producers or insurance companies are the carriers. That's Chubb and that's AIG and everybody. That's great. The people you're dealing with there, if you're placing with them, they work for that company and they sell you that company's stuff. Brokers like Aon, Marsh, and Lloyd's of London, we're actually a fiduciary to our clients. We take you out to market in the US, Bermuda, and London and find the carriers to bid on your package. So it is a different side of the table and a different experience from how the thing goes to market. Won't bore you too much with it, but you know, that's the difference. So what we do is actually use the 100 questions on the base cyber form, and there are a bunch of supplementals about ransomware, cyber, OT, and a bunch of others, but we use the base 100 questions and rank them back against NIST and actually score your organization in 34 core areas rolled up to 9 categories on how you did related to not only the insurance questions, but the NIST standard as well. It's a NIST light because it's self-assessment, it's not an audit. However, it's a byproduct that at the end of the insurance brokering process, you know that you see here on the left, user awareness, password config, and backup. Notice it's in the red area of initial. Well, here's the easy math for executives. If anything in column 1 is on this list, that's going to be a problem. If any of the dirty dozen score low, you leave your front door unlocked all the time and you're a bad insurance risk. So you take this list of dirty dozen, you match it up against this view of the scores, and I'll show you one other view of the scores I have in a different chart. And here's the important part. If you look at that word backup at the bottom of the first-hand column, and I need it to be a 3 because I have to qualify for insurance, because backups is the thing that's going to save your butt in a ransomware. If you can't recover from backups, you're paying for the decryption key, period, end of sentence. So I need to move backups. I need a project in this organization to move backups from 1 to 3. It's going to cost 50 grand. All I have to do is draw a circle around the world backup, draw a line to column 3 and put 50K on it. I move a bishop, the backup bishop, so to speak, a chess piece on this board of 34 from column 1 to column 3. Do I have to explain to the CEO after the presentation you've just seen what the backup is, how it works, what technology it came from? No, they need to move a chess piece. They don't need to dissect it. And I'm saying that as a way to level things up. Here's the thing, if you've ever been in boardrooms, and I've been in far too many, have you ever heard the CFO tell what system the reports came out of? Never. Never, ever in their careers have I seen one CFO ever explain the Oracle database or whatever it is that the financial report came out of. Yet in our field, we seem to want to explain technologies and logos. Those are great for underwriters. They're great for people like me in incident response. But, you know, the fact you picked a good car, a good seatbelt, a good airbag, is a good thing. You may not need to explain to them all the alternatives. It's a disservice to them. You're dragging them down to the engine room and not letting them be an admiral. So this comes into at the end of the insurance brokering process, where normally you get a yes or no, you pay a check and you get nothing beneficial. We actually visualize the data in these different ways, including, as you'll see in the top left, your score and the peers in your peer group from the insurance industry, all the law firms like you, all the IT companies like you, all the manufacturers like you. So you can see how slow a gazelle you are in the great pack. And also tell the good story about how you're ahead in some areas and need help in others. I have found every single time I work with clients like this, it ends in a budgetary discussion where the people who were coward or avoiding IT suddenly feel comfortable enough to start talking about why backups, MFA, and other things are worth the spend and the complaints from the staff. So, but wait, there's more. I did this for a whole state. So we took 50 of these simultaneously, did them for the whole state of Tennessee. And for the first time, the state was actually able to measure its cybersecurity risk. Before that day, insurers would never insure the state in cyber. We went to market with this package, and that visualization is a heat map of all 50 on the bottom, with the data changed for those who are going to ask that later. It is mock data that I mocked up after I did this. And the insurance market actually responded that they would take on some of that risk. And the state said no thanks and formed their own insurance captive. They're their own insurance company, officially founded. They collect the premiums, they spend the money, they cover up to the first X million dollars breaches, and then they have excess insurance above 10 or 20 or 30 or $40 million, whatever it is, to keep the secrets of the state of Tennessee to itself. So these things could be done for PE firms. I do these for 50 operating companies. For large organizations, all the operational units or subsidiary companies, those kind of things. The final bit is, this is what we do for a living in the 600-person unit of Strauss Freeburg or Aon Cyber Solutions. We're often known for that right-hand column when something goes wrong, incident response, but we do all of the assessments, pen testing, tabletops, architecture. We even have partners if you want to outsource to MSSP. And we are inside an insurance broker, but they can't see inside our case files. Our case files are privileged, our projects are protected. There's a separation in our company, just like in each of yours. So even if we are your broker, we can help you on breaches and things and services, but that doesn't go to the insurance companies without going through your attorneys or outside counsel. Similarly, though, I get to see all of the cool stuff, like those dirty dozen, like the ways that the insurers and the underwriters are hardening or loosening the market. It is an incredible insight, and it's the reason I'm there. I'm watching the tectonic shift of insurance driving cyber, which is why I left from Microsoft to a startup and why I left the startup to go to this. I love to see these kind of things, and it is going to take another 5 or 10 years, but this is what will rule. Doesn't matter whether I think it or not, it always does. Insurance always leads the way. And to address Gene's question, by doing exactly what it's doing, if you don't implement to a level that is measured to be somewhat decent the following core controls on the underwriter's form, you won't get insurance. So either you roll without insurance, which you can't do and be a partner to anybody in the industry, or you improve your security, you improve your home security, you install smoke detectors, radon detectors, sprinkler systems. That's how insurance actually, and here's the one final bit, this is really going to bake the noodle of some of the people on the phone. Guess what? The things the insurance company asked for this year is what will be implemented in the NIST standard 3 years from now. This is the leading indicator by a year, 2 or 3. So if you, and for the 2 lawyers in the room and for those on the call, if you look at the underwriter's questions, like having the inside of the cross-examination of your opposing counsel, you can be quarters or years ahead of the SEC, the FCC, putting these things into a standard. Where do you think they get the root cause stuff from? The insurance industry. If you look at the insurance renewal process as secret read-ahead info on every standard of the future, you'll be in a better position for your company, cheaper, smarter, and faster. So I'll stop there and open it up for questions, but thanks for allowing me to come and chat and at the team today.
What's changed in 3 years?
Yes, a lot has changed in 3 years.
Just like you.
Yeah.
It is on the website.
Yeah.
And like you.
Let me see if I can find a better slide. Wait 1 second.
How much did that cost? That's what
Yeah, well, yeah, it's just part of your, I mean, this is not something that. Well,
Actually, that's the funny thing is,
so, I guess, just test of assumption. This is time consuming work, right?
no, actually, it's not. I'll walk through. Give me a sec. I'll pull up another viz of it and I'll show you how not time consuming it is.
Yeah,
Give me a sec. For those on the thing, I'm swapping slides, so the screen will come back in a second. And I think it probably stopped sharing. Screen sharing stopped. Sharing windows closed. Give me a split second. I'm gonna bring this back up. Boom. Share screen. Please ignore the man behind the curtain. PowerPoint slideshow. Boom. And share. Okay, so wait 1 second. Let me find. Now we're in the wild rodeo of Bryan's slides, so don't worry about it. Okay, so boom, 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 boom. So the way this works. For, oh, go ahead.
Let's take that last question or last statement.
Oh, sorry. So the question on the floor was, do all brokers do this, or my broker doesn't do this, and how much does it cost? So that question's answered in a couple ways. So, and then how hard is it and how labor intensive is it? All great questions. So one of the things at Aon, a broker riding above, in essence, above in the market, insurance companies, we try and unify the forms they use, because then we have consistency across the entire market, not only in the US with the great logos here, AIG, Chubb, whatever, but also with all the Bermudian and London markets and other things. So what we have done is we have these 95 questions in this base SciQ form that roll up into 9 security domains and 35 control areas that map to NIST and ISO and are accepted by brokers. The questions are in a web form and look like this. They are multiple choice. In other words, on your network, do you do the following? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. What percentage of your computers have MFA? What percentage of your endpoints have EDR? Does that include servers? How many? Go ahead, Frank has a question.
You made a statement accepted by brokers. So the question I have is particularly is it because you guys are represent another broker accepted?
You'll only have, so the brokers, let me clarify that if I stated wrong. The broker goes to carriers. The insurance carriers are the AIGs, the Chubbs, and if I'm leaving out a name of somebody on the call, I like your insurance company too. I just don't list them all. So when we use this form, we take it to all of the carriers and say, and their underwriting teams, and say, we have a client that's filled this out. Here's the answers. Now, the underwriters still to this day like the text form. All of this visualization is for the client. We don't send these scores to the market, to the carriers, but we show you, in essence, the secret credit score being calculated about you without you. And in the context of the Dirty Dozen, you can understand why a score of 2 in backups gets more attention than a score of 2 in something that's not on the Dirty Dozen. It demystifies the process. Go ahead.
Advising the clients how to improve their security exemption, right? Like providing
It can, but what we're doing at this point, just for a two-phased approach. This just visualizes the answers you gave to the insurance company for your submission. You can then use that in step 2 to improve or mitigate those areas in advance of your renewal, and have a better brokering experience, a better placement. Well, for the next renewal. But you should start 6 to 9 months in advance for the reasons we talked.
You're giving the insurance carrier, like, you're kind of vouching for the client, whereas what you've already had in place. Improve their cybersecurity rights, so I was thinking.
So the great news is, like, could you rephrase what
I know, I'll rephrase it. I was grabbing a water or equivalent for those on the thing. So let me go back up. Gotcha. So the representation, and let me differentiate the representation of a broker from the representation in this form. To fill out the form the way we do it, it's a secure website and the client articulates their own position into a web form that we use that prints out the form of their answers. The broker goes through it with them to clarify their answers, add comments where needed. But the client is representing the state of their security to the underwriter. The broker is facilitating the process. And what I say in this meeting, and I say every time to a client, especially large clients that I often have, $1 billion and above, but I work with 5-person construction firms. You should have a tapestry of vendors supporting you. If you use, and Jennifer, if you or your team is on, hey, Jennifer Sunshine Steffens from IOActive. If you use her for pen testing, that's great. You got it covered. You don't have to come to me for that. If you use somebody else for your tabletops, great. I think we're better, but you choose your own adventure. If you have, Booz Allen doing your policy development, I don't care as long as you can answer the underwriter's questions well. Now, if you need those things, and that's what that's why Aon bought us, bought them, Straws. So many clients were like, well, I don't know who to ask. Could you guys just do it for me? Then they bought a company to do it, and there's a little bit of separation there. But you get the report whether you hire us for that part or not, the follow-up remediation, or whether you use us for that, or you can hire us without brokering through us. So there's no inappropriate, there's a collaboration, but not a collusion, I guess would be the slight difference.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I have a couple of questions on that here. So one is,
Let's go to, go ahead.
any thoughts about O&E professional insurance for cybersecurity professionals versus enterprise level?
Not E&O, errors and omissions, is different than D&O, directors and officers. So I believe, and again, sorry for the insurance geekery here. I believe the question was on directors and officers insurance about liability of CISOs more than it was on E&O, errors and omissions of the software package or other things. But please clarify in the text if I got that wrong, but I'll answer both. E&O policies, again, the placement for particular trigger events, causes, and coverages is a discussion to have with your broker about what types of insurance you need for your business and what limits. When we go to broker, and again, I have these slides somewhere, but like I can come back and do these. We take a client, we look at their size, shape, business model, risk profile, and all that, and then we give them like, here's what 50 other people bought. Here's the first quartile, here's the second quartile. Here's like, do you want to be in the middle of the pack? Do you want to have more insurance because you're growing fast? Do you want to have less insurance because you think you can roll this, your deductibles or whatever? So when you place with a broker, they give you all that data for you to make an informed decision. And it's a very interesting process. A lot of geekery in there. I will warn all involved.
But our context is bonding from consultants.
Okay, D&O. Okay, so E&O, errors and omissions for consult. So I had professional liability insurance when I was a Govy that was above and beyond what the government had. I paid like $500 a year out of my personal pocket to protect my family. If your company doesn't cover those kind of things, you might want to look at one, making sure they do. What is their policy for errors and omissions of consulting? Also, the fallback for all of us, and especially if you have children, is to have an umbrella policy on you and your family for things like if your kid runs over somebody else's puppy or, those kind of things. So there's a corporate question of that to ask your corporate counsel what they offer in terms of the services and coverage for the employees. Now, all of this is negated by usually acts of negligence, criminality, gross negligence, adjudicated gross negligence. The lawyers in the group can, go through all the terminology, but doing something notably wrong or cutting, pasting, stealing from your old company and consulting, passing it off as a new company's product as something consultants never, ever ever do. And I ran EDS's global consulting unit for a while, so I'm part of the problem too. I'm not picking on anybody in particular. Those kind of things could open you up for personal liability, just like a police officer going beyond their capabilities. It loses their qualified immunity. So great question about E&O and personal liability.
Next question is, do the insurance companies leverage rating companies like this?
Yes, to a degree. And here's the thing is, yes, more and more often, and it'll be more and more often. However, God bless BitSite, if you're on the call, hey, a lot of false positives in the BitSite reports. A lot of interesting things come out of a BitSite report. So I always tell my clients, run your own BitSite report in advance, and then make sure you're ready to talk about or address any issues in it. But if your web server really is that crappy where BitSite can find it, then you have a bigger problem, and that's going to come out during your insurance placement. And other insurance companies are starting to actually in Asia do their own pen testing as part of the underwriting process. That is not like your yearly pen test. They're walking through your house to inspect your smoke detectors.
You mentioned a little while.
And that's coming too, yes.
The carrier have secret credit score.
Well, wait 1 second. So it's in any form when you fill. Second. Oh, the underwriters calculate a secret credit score. I use that analogy when I talk about us giving you your score back. They do it in a mental way. They may even do it numerically for some carriers or insurance companies, but they say, well, you only answered 4 out of 5. I don't like that. Now, do they put a number by it or a little unhappy face on the score?
Their risk decision more or less solely off of your responsibility to their application.
The customer's responses to their own application. And well, but here's the thing is, and some only do it through. Oh yeah, so and that they only calculate the score based on the answers in the form. Yes, and that you may have a call with your underwriters, especially if we're taking to market. 5 or 6 underwriters may jump on a call with a CISO of like a large Seattle corporation. I'll sit on the call to take notes too. They may all ask them about, well, why did you answer it this way? Explain to us why you did or didn't need to do that. Tell the security story of your journey. So then your underwriters start to understand you as a company more than a transaction. And underwriters and insurance brokers do an insane amount of research around it above and beyond this form. Where you are in my, like, I was really impressed when I learned about this part of the industry. But what I'm saying here is, as you fill out these questions, they're assessing you in essence, qualitatively or quantitatively, are you a good risk by the answers on this form and other data they collect? Great question. Great question.
I know they have a number of cross-company insurance databases that create people, all kinds of things. We have one of those for cyber.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, so there's cross-company databases too, and I'll rephrase the question, but to rate people or companies like a credit bureau. So I'll answer it in 2 ways. I have seen at Aon, and again, all this is my personal opinion, et cetera, et cetera. I've seen a lot of great data on, and again, de-identified root cause analytics and trends within verticals, like law firms and professional groups are getting murdered ransomware because they hold the secrets of others. Same with companies that must publicly report or are highly regulated. When they get breached, it's a bad thing. So they'll pay high ransoms. I've seen data exchanges on the de-identified and aggregated level about causes, about problems, about solutions. We score our own clients, and the client scores themselves through this, and there are other forms that I'm trying to get them to do the visualizations on those too. There's a ransomware supplemental, there's an operational technology supplemental form. Those are usually in text. But like if somebody says, oh, they're a bad insurance risk, I would have to see the termite report myself or get a new one, because I don't trust that the other company, maybe they looked at them wrong. Maybe they had a bad experience in that vertical that we didn't have. So I don't think, well, the credit bureaus, the three, and let's put it in the personal finance. Well, and the insurance company, and I was just talking to some of our core knowledge engineers, are trying to figure out how to do entity extraction and, and NLP on claims data and other things to extract even more root cause analytics. So it's not as, I'd love to see it more structured, but that dirty dozen is a pretty damn good start. And there's a lot more behind that, math, heavy math.
So like, health insurance, industry has a lot. The auto insurance industry.
Yeah, but Gene's saying that in the other insurance industries, like they, on the client side, they make. Now, one of the things that you have to report when you go to a new insurance company, just like when you go to new auto insurance, how many accidents you've had. So that's part of the vetting process, what's known as underwriting. So even if the insurance companies don't exchange direct data, you have to declare your claims history and all those kind of things as part of the it's part of the transparent underwriting process. So I think Frank's standing up, which means I think you're getting a big hook out. Glad to do one more question and glad to follow up if people get my contact info, whatever. Go for it.
Just relies on question and response. You think that's going to change? You're going to have more, like insurance carriers walking through your facilities, confirming names, right?
Which they do with your property policy. They walk through, they do site walks through site inspections, sometimes one or the other. So yes.
Little IP responses to questions, right?
Yes and no. So to some degrees, because the market was so immature, they didn't have the data to know what to ask about. They didn't have last year was, or 2 years ago was the nasty 9, that's dirty dozen, soon it'll be 15. Then we'll close it back to 9 because 15 is too many. They need the longitudinal loss runs to figure out what attention in the list of 50 to 34 NIST things makes more difference to the avoid of, and I'll go, wait 1 second, see if I can find it. Boom, 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 wait 1 sec. Sorry about the slide display. Let me go back to this. What smoke detector would have stopped the spark or spread? Why was the backup the only thing that saved you from the ransomware? And if you want to know why you're not going to get insurance, there's the list. And it's, by the way, the same dirty dozen list. This is why they will not insure you. You don't have front door locks, you don't have smoke detectors. And we will be doing, not we, I'm seeing in the industry and expecting validation efforts about the controls in place to become part of a more stringent underwriting process because the community is evolving. We're learning what really matters. And there's too many payouts because people aren't changing their passwords, don't have NFA, or other things I can talk about in terms of trends, but I think I'm way over.
And seatbelts work. That's kind of the point, right? They save lives, and it was laminated over time because of data and cyber. I mean, the issue that you are kind of getting at is it really comes down to the question of how do you measure.
It's my contact info for the people online. Also, I'm on LinkedIn.
Cyber risk.
But that's, yeah.
Without this data, how historically, how would you measure that? Not this.
Hand waving and asking for a check, I'm pretty sure, from the consulting side. Yeah.
Has there been any fraud kind of using cyber insurance by people who have purchased cyber insurance?
There's fraud in every industry, so yes. It's like, most of the time, I'm not like there's fraudulent like claiming stuff that didn't happen or trying to put costs in that aren't really related. Oh, the other final thing is this is not all about cyber insurance. It's about your business interruption policy. It's about your crime policy. Like there's a whole tapestry of insurance you need to worry about. So even the CISOs don't understand that it's a big.
Maybe
we'll talk offline about a fraud thing or two, but I usually don't talk.
Really goes to your question. Which is
I can conclude this and I'll sign off, but thank you, everybody.
So as always with the ISC chapter, the merriment continues at Roanoke for people that choose to go for drinks, and encourage everyone, unless again, there's a reason you can't attend,
come in person. That's the opportunity for you to then spend the next 15-20 minutes help clean up the room and also continue the conversation and then take it over and have beverages and also shared conversations, hopefully with our presenter. With that said, that concludes today's meeting. We will be posting our February meeting shortly. Right now, that is still in flux. So just come back to our website and if not, make sure we have your email address. So when we do send the announcement out, that you have it. It will come from, MailChimp though, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. So in case, just in case, it might end up in your junk mail. That's the only reason I wanted to make a note of that. With that, it concludes the online portion of this conversation. Thank you very much for attending.